in 1715 to bring white convicts over here and start setting up the penal colonies. Could you go in on the penal colonies set up by the Moors all over? And could you go in what you got on the penal colonies?
Remember when I told y'all that they brought Huns, Vedics, right, and Mongolians that they had captured as prisoners of war and put them as they call them pauper villages in Europe. These villages was populated with POWs. They wasn't allowed to leave because if they got caught leaving, they get murdered. So they were setting up homesteads in these villages. These the villages we see the tax collector going to in Robin Hood, right? And so when they brought them over here, they didn't first bring pale faces first. First, they brought those people. That was around the 1619 incursion. The Moors brought their slaves with them when they came. They wasn't called Moors yet, by the way. In the 1500s, they wasn't called Moors yet, right? It hadn't caught on as a global description for brown-skinned, woolly-haired people. Its root word is Mauri, M-A-U-R-I, which is French, right? The French descriptive term Mauri means like brown cinnamon complexion. Right. So the term hadn't taken hold like it is now. The usage of the word Moor in colonial period America was very small, if it was even used over here. It began to be used in the 1600s and the 1700s, but it really took hold after 1776. 1776 with the American Revolution is when the word had its boom period, because now the George Washington challenge is at play. And this is why it became prominent to classify the two different groups that's trying to educate themselves above the condition. Inlil children and Tahuti children. This is the land of Tahuti. The land of Enlil is not on earth because he don't belong here. That's why he had to promise his children a piece of land when he created them, right? Because they all come from him, but they don't got no homeland. But everybody that's native to the planet got a homeland that they belong to, like the old Mississippian tribes all belong over here, right? We know that the Sudanese people, the Hadendawa, the Dinka, we know they belong in the Sudanese region. We know that the Zulu and a couple of other of the tribes, them short Bantu tribes, Twa, belong in South Africa because they've been there the whole time since the mining period of Manadapa.
Yep, the Sands man too.
Everybody is native except one group of people. And these is the people that's running around trying to convince us that they got a promised land for them, but they got them traveling all over the world looking for it. That doesn't make sense. You mean the prime creator, the God of all gods, the inventor of creation, don't know where his people belong?
Right.
Right. Why do you have to fight a war to inherit what your God said he was going to give you unless he was a God of war?
Right.
In that case, he ain't the creator. He's a warlord. And if he a warlord, he came to the right places because the Lord of War going to be over here when he run into him.
Go ahead.
Right. So the puzzle unravels when we start seeing how we all fit in under the terms, the references, the identification of people. Anybody tell you God picked somebody as a superior group of people is your sworn blood enemy. He just don't even know what he's telling you. God is no respecter of person. Not the real God, not the real creator don't care what you look like. The real creator only care what frequency you vibrate on. He don't care what you look like, where you come from. He don't care if you half dog, half monkey. If you vibrate on the frequency, if you don't believe me, you can ask the Hanuman. Right? Because the monkey god said that he would raise all of you up to be Hanuman, like himself. What was the problem with Hanuman? None of the gods could control Hanuman. They always kissing his behind, but none of the gods could control Hanuman. Think about that for a minute. They was always coming to him to solve the unsolvable problem, but they would always talk about him bad like he was a useless deity. And this is how you get the clone army of the Planet of the Apes through the contagious Sako Mao monkey man being seduced by the wise serpent Tupac Amaru. Let the snake rise up. Let the cobra dance. Monkey see snake. Monkey know where snake at, even when monkey don't watch snake. If they tell you somebody dead, you got to see the body. Because if you don't see the body, they on some BS. And half the time when you see the body, you only looking at a wooden replica of somebody that they told you died. That's why all of the corpses feel like concrete. When you touch them, it feel like they made out of wood. Because they made out of wood.
And this the next. Go ahead. I thought you were finished.
People are paying attention, but they're not paying attention. But the monkey mind is waking up now. Because once you see the wise one rise up, the Sakuma, the monkey mind, even if he don't agree, can't take his mind off of it. Even when he doing something else, the Sakuma will always take you back, the monkey mind, to where the wisdom is, and that's why our ancestors called wisdom the serpent and the dragon. So that your Sakuma, your monkey mind, can follow the wisdom path through wherever it go, as long as you know how to do some monkey knocking. Gorilla knocking, monkey flipping. Right? So it's about the strength of the grip, holding on to your post. You can't be the master with the master grip if you ain't got that gorilla grip. Right? As soon as we realize that the gorilla grip comes from training, we exercise the faculty. Only by searching for wisdom will you find the serpent in his hole.
Hey, Rod, I got another question for you, Rod, because AI brought out some interesting things in that tape that I put out just a minute ago before we went live. It said that the 5 indigenous tribes were forced to sign treaties with the Moors, and they had to, and in this treaty, they had to drop all their culture and take on Moors culture. So I wanted to that bring in the L's and Bay, because these same people they trace their bloodline back to the Ottoman Empire. And Doc make mention of this. It's all coming to me in the Let's Set the Record Straight book. So when these 5 indigenous tribes had to sign deals with the European Moors, and they had to drop all their traditions, and they was forced to take on their religion, pretty much their whole culture, change their whole culture to Moors culture. What's significant about that?
They didn't change. They changed it to Ottoman culture, not Moorish culture. You got to remember, conquistadors in Spain was the Moors. Huguenots in France was the Moors. And the only reason why the Turks or the Ottomans are Turks, they got caught into the war because they got conquered by the Byzantine kings in the Moorish Turkish Empire. Was the Moors that conquered Turkey. And when you growing up in elementary school, when we were, they always made mention of the change of Istanbul, that was Ottoman rule, Turk rule, to Constantinople after Constantine, which was Roman rule, which was Moorish rule. because
Yeah,
they was the
Roman,
Tuscans.
Ottoman Empire, all on the same people. They all the same guys. If you
Now,
check
at
them out,
different times, right? But you got to know when they come in, so you'll know what they doing. Now, remember, in the George Washington Challenge, the goal was to spin us around and confuse us about what part of the earth we came from, what part of the ocean.
that's right.
Are we from Europe, the Iberian Peninsula, or are we from Turtle Island? That was the challenge. We remember when we come out of the slumber from the blood magic,
Right.
right? So if that was the goal, they had to give us a culture that wasn't ours,
Yeah.
right? This is why they got a lot of the Mongolians is over here practicing Mongolian rights under the pretense of being Native American,
Right.
right? And we
Yeah.
know the difference in the Mongolian rights because they still practice them in Mongolia,
Right. Dragon
right?
worship.
But they don't practice the rights of the old Mississippians because they don't know how to put the message on the drum,
That's right. Damn so right.
right? They don't know how to weave it in on the Delta Blue, right? The Delta Blue is a frequency. It's a harmonic frequency of the throat chakra, right? In order for people to be able to know who they are, we could tell our people by the sound of their voice. And what it tell you, my people will know me by what? By the sound of my voice. It ain't that our voice is so powerful.
Right.
It's just that through years, we always sound the same in every lifetime. So when they hear us speak lifetimes later, you know what I'm saying? They begin to gravitate toward that voice. And they can tell if you've been corrupted by modern times because your voice will crack. But you won't hear it. They will. Right? They'll tell you, I love to listen to that preacher speak, but it's somebody ain't right. That imam I'll call, but somebody ain't right. Right? That brother know he can hold us down in this political storm, but something ain't right about him. I don't know what it is, but that ain't who he's supposed to be. He's out of character. He's not himself.
Right.
He's been ego seduced. He's been seduced by the ego. Unless he got seduced by an eagle. See, They play the word game. They call it semantics, word games. Right? But if you bring up etymology, those who practice semantics will get mad at you.
Go ahead.
All right. So we have to know how to recognize us when we come. And all of this stuff comes in on the frequency of the music and the dance. So our culture is going to outshine any culture on the land.
That's right.
And then we'll be able to trace us back home. Not off of no book. Only off reading the culture. But before you can learn to read the culture, some of us got to learn to read the book. We got to know the story they told, so when we reverse engineer the culture, we can see where the lies at, and then we can point them out. Man, this is what we've been doing.
Yeah.
You know, so in the George Washington Challenge, the goal was to give us the Ottoman influence. This is where you get your terms bays, days, and L's and Ali's from. Even though Ali is Arabic, and L is Paleo Hebrew, L is still tied back into the Turkish Empire through linguistics. Right. So the Turks speak a different form of Arabic, which takes them back to the languages that they learned from the ones who migrated through and became the Byzantine kings, to show you the influence in the travel of the culture of the Moors. Right? We can follow the culture development of people across the Sahara Desert. And we can see that around 711, the exile taking place. And then we'll see a circling of those people on the Iberian Peninsula in groups. Then around the time of the 1300s, war break out and called the Great Inquisition, that they make it a parody in this movie. The movie is called History of the World with Mel Brooks, right? And in there, they're giving you a parody of the Inquisition. Well, you got to remember, this was all over Europe because half of the European countries weren't established until this time frame. They was regions, major regions, like you didn't have Russia yet. Russia was the Khazarian region that covered into what today is Ukraine. All of those other regions were merged together to form Russia, right? The Soviet Union. But before Russia, it was called Prussia. The Prussian Empire is what was ruled by czars. You got to realize that czar is a European title of nobility, right? So they don't want us to use titles of nobility, but we identify our nobles by naming them certain names. That's why, you know, everybody named Sonny Boy, Sonny, Son, right? All those names is another way of saying chief in different languages from the different people. So we all had different tongues, so sign language. So we don't have to name a title of nobility to recognize the character of the people on the land. All we got to do is know how the names tie in to the people of the land, right? So once you understand how it works, it's just like reading a comic book. You can see it all lay out in front of you. So they want to confuse us about what side of the ocean we came from. They give us this foreign culture because they're not going to let us use our culture, right? But some of us didn't have anything to do with it, right? Only 5 civilized tribes was needed to hold the bear at bay long enough for the soldiers to know where to stab him and to put him to rest, right? Somebody had to hold the bear. That's why most of the treaties are fabricated. They made up by settlers. Have nothing to do with the tribes over here. And when I say the majority of them, I'm talking about like 90% of them.
It said that they were fabricated, or they were like the chiefs came back and said, we ain't signed no treaty with them. Like they like, who signed? We ain't signing. They said it were people that was posing as them, signing treaties, dressing up like the chief, and doing all kind of stuff.
And you remember, that's what I told y'all, they was using presidential order to make people chiefs. That's not how you become a chief.
Right.
You become a chief by the blood and the right.
Right.
You got to be blood tied to the land. You got to be examined by multiple families across the land. Your family first, then your in-laws across your whoever married. Different family members going to examine you. You're going to put you out in the public and say, go let the people see what we done produced over here. Then you got to go out and you got to carry yourself in your early manhood as a type of dude that makes shit happen. But at the same time, don't take no crap.
Right.
Right. You got to have a certain disposition and character. And then the elder chiefs get wind of you when you touch down on the land. They watch over you. He either gonna sink or he gonna swim.
Right.
In the more different parts of the land that you don't sink, the more elders on that part of the land give you the bop. He's the chief. Which in biblical terms, they're not finding the chief, they find the family redeemer. Why do you need a family redeemer? The family redeemer job is to find all of the rightful heirs, as many as they can, up to 50. When he finds a sufficient number of rightful heirs, up to 50, and he can clearly identify who they is now and who they were back then. And this is why I got to tell them about ODB being Chief Crazy Horse.
Right. Go ahead.
right? About Busy Bone being long face chief out of the Ottawa territory, right? Tupac being Tupac Amaru, but he's still Tupac Amaru. He ain't never changed.
Right.
He the same big loudmouth that he used to be. Only now he got control. He know when to shut up and fall back. Teamwork make the dream work. If we ain't all working together, we working against each other.
Right.
Everybody can't do the same job, but everybody got to have a job to do. Right? You a dog man, you got to know where your dog at in the fight, because if you grab that other man's dog, ain't no guarantee he ain't going to bite you.
Right.
Right? But when you grab your own dog, you almost highly unlikely that you're going to get bit.
Right.
Right? So once you know where the fight is, economically, you know it's banking.
Right. Money.
Education, right? You know it got to do with the school system. Entertainment, you know it got Hollywood involved. And if Hollywood involved, you know it ties right back to New York.
Yeah.
And you know if New York involved, it got political influences in it. So that ties right back to DC.
Go ahead.
Right? So it's political, right? You got education, economics, entertainment. Then you got the workforce. Now we talking workers' unions, workers' guilds, skilled trades, masters at a craft, master craftsmen, master masons, master builders.
Right.
Right? The illusion got to reveal itself. And the illusion being is that the master builder is the man, and all the time the man is a secondary builder, because the master builder is the mother who molded him in the womb.
Right.
And let the fruit speak for itself. There was no man able to build anything before he was made in the mother's womb. Right? So now we got economics, education, entertainment, labor. Then we go into law, which is legalese, which is the language of the settler to keep control of the settled so that they don't never rise up and amongst over the colonizer. They got an inclusion doctrine that's an exclusive doctrine.
Go ahead.
The exclusive doctrine is to give you exclusion doctrine. What is it? It's a system of warfare. It's called playing the odds, right? Play both sides from the middle, right? So you got to play inclusion, exclusion at the same time, right? Because you want to mix them together, but you don't want them to know you want them to mix them together, but you give them the doctrine and turn them loose, and then you tell them don't touch each other. He a no good N-word. She a colonizing pale face, whatever the case may be. So now you got the dynamics at play to create chaos, right? So then you go from law to politics, which ties back to the entertainment, which ties back to the Hollywood, which was the wand. And the wand was broke over Queen Elizabeth's coffin because the spell was broke. And Baba said we breaking the spell. So only way to break the spell is expose the mechanics of the spell to the public, and the underbelly of it gonna make it not work. Because now they know the trick about pulling the rabbit out the hat. It's not even a fun trick to watch no more. Just when they thought